Consumer Watchdog says it does not set mobile data rates. Governors concerned with public service inefficiencies. And Port Moresby-based finance company opens in Mt.Hagen. This is National MTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Tuesday's news. The Independent Consumer and Competition Commission has come out clear on its role after a response by Public Enterprise and State Investment Minister William Duma in Parliament recently. The ICCC says while responding to ECPIC Governor Alan Bird's question on the recent hike in mobile phone charges by Telecom, Minister Duma had mentioned several incorrect statements about ICCC's role relating to the telecommunication industry.
The success story.
According to ICCC, Minister Duma in a newspaper article mentioned the following misleading statements about its role. Internet and telephone charges and prices are fixed by ICCC. A 170% increase in mobile phone service fees charged by Telecom remains to be clarified by ICCC. There are certain increases that have been approved by ICCC and that necessary increases have been approved by ICCC to enable our companies to provide decent dividends for our people. Commissioner and CEO Polius Ain said while ICCC regulates other SOEs such as PNG Power, MVIL, Post PNG and PNG Ports, it does not regulate Telecom or B-Mobile. He said the National Information and Communications Authority is the mandated authority responsible for the economic and technical regulation of the ICT industry. Under the National Information Communications Technology Act 2010, ICCC's role as the ICT regulator was passed on to NICTA.
Regulatory or economic regulatory function that the ICCC held were effectively transferred to NICTA, and that includes setting of the prices or rates for mobile, telephony, fixed line, the internet rates or bandwidths, the wholesale rates, including consumer complaints, all other range of services in the ICT industry is now effectively performed by NICTA.
Prior to 2010, ICCC was the economic regulator of the telecommunications industry, and that it was responsible for setting the prices of telecommunication services and the interconnection rates between the competing telecommunication service providers. During that time, the PNG Telecommunications and Radio Communication Technical Authority was the technical regulator of the industry until 2010, when the government repealed the Telecommunications Act and replaced it with the National Information Communications Technology Act, which saw NICTA emerge as the new technical and economic regulator of the ICT industry.
At this stage, we also would like to appeal to NICTA to at least come out and inform the public about its role in the telecommunications industry, so that consumers can at least know that there is someone who is responsible for this sector.
Mr. Ayin said ICCC still maintains its role as a consumer watchdog by being the first point of call where consumers can register complaints, and that they only address according to legislations that ICCC administers. Complaints that are not under ICCC's jurisdiction are forwarded to organizations that have the legal basis to directly deal with them. Charlene Airy, National MTV News.
NICCC Commissioner Paulus Ain is urging telecommunication users to raise their ICT issues through the Consumer Affairs branch of NICTA. He added that, consistent with government policy, the ICCC, as an implementation agency, only regulates the prices of electricity, water, fuel, essential port services, MVIL, postal services, and PMV and taxi fares. He said ICCC also monitors the factory gate prices of rice, flour, and sugar, but it does not set the prices of these goods. He said prices of all other goods and services are determined by market forces of demand and supply or by specific regulators, where these are subject to regulations and not the ICCC. The government's national reforms in 1995 were identified as a contributing factor to the deterioration in the execution of public service duties, while the high cost in telecommunication, electricity and transportation have been identified as factors affecting the efficiency of running businesses in Papua New Guinea. These points were raised by Northern and ECP governors respectively.
These points were highlighted by Governor Gary Jufa and Governor Alan Bird during the panel discussion at the National Speakers Summit held in Port Moresby today. They are in response to a presentation conducted by the Investment Promotion Authority on investors in Papua New Guinea. In the last 2 years, China, Australia, Japan, South Korea and Malaysia have been identified as the highest investors in Papua New Guinea. Much of what has been invested has been spent in NCD, Madang, Moresby and Southern Highlands. This is according to records from the Investment Promotion Authority. Thus, the Speaker Summit is aimed at identifying opportunities and challenges the governors can use to improve economic growth in their provinces. These challenges include high cost of doing businesses in the country and ways forward to empowering local farmers to develop the agriculture and livestock sector. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The monthly discussion series on APEC-related issues at the precinct continues tomorrow with the theme Women in Leadership. The discussions will cover topics on economic empowerment and the inclusion of women in the economy. It coincides with the APEC Women and Economy Forum held this week. This is the fourth discussion series facilitated by PNG APEC Secretariat and the Pacific Leadership and Governance Precinct, aimed at promoting the importance of hosting the 2018 APEC Leaders Summit in November. It will be moderated by Australia's Ambassador for Women and Girls, Dr. Shaman Stone, at the University of Papua New Guinea. You're watching National EMTV News. Still ahead in the news, a financial services company opens up in Mt.Hagen and medical practitioners urged to contribute to election law reforms. Those stories and more when we come back. Welcome back to the news. Medical practitioners have been urged to contribute towards the review of the election law. Constitutional and Law Reform Commission Secretary Dr. Eric Kwa made this appeal on Sunday at the welcome reception of the 54th Medical Symposium in Madang. Questionnaires were distributed to the medical practitioners for their thoughts on topics of the review of the organic law on national and local level government elections. Dr. Kwa thanked the PNG Medical Society and the organizers of the symposium for the opportunity to make his speech. Meanwhile, the ongoing nationwide consultation for East New Britain and the Autonomous Region of Bougainville ended last week, while simultaneous consultations for New Ireland, West New Britain and Manus will be from the 10th to the 13th of this month. Locals in Western Highlands Province are advised to make use of financial institutions in the province, but to also borrow wisely. Western Highlands Governor Pius Wingti said this today at the opening of the Moni Plus branch in Mt.Hagen. This office is Moni Plus' first Highlands regional branch.
Moni Plus Managing Director Kajanan Bave said Moni Plus started as a small finance company in 1998, but it saw the demand of little people borrowing money for their own reasons, mostly the school fee loans. In 2006, they expanded and created products that will meet the needs of little people and give them that financial access.
Personal loans, and then we also have asset finance, foreign exchange, and term deposits as well. So financial inclusion is simply we are trying to make it available to more and more people as much as possible.
Moni Plus' social obligation and a challenge are to create systems and products that will help the rural communities as well as to drive development in the country. Governor Pius Wingti officially opened the new office and welcomed them into the province so that there is competition in the market for borrowers to choose. Wingti urged the people not to borrow to fulfill their social obligations like compensation and bride price. He urged them to borrow wisely for the right reasons like for school fees or starting up a business.
Borrowing for all the social obligations because we come from a society, the big man mentality. So we want to maintain our big man mentality and we have to borrow some money to fulfill these social obligations. I tell you, you're putting a rope around your neck.
Provincial Administrator Joseph Nang said such services open doors for investors to invest in the province. Nang urged Moni Plus and other banking and financial organizations to provide the best financial services to promote entrepreneurship to local people, as well as giving them access to financial inclusion.
This branch will surely cater for our unbanked population, including civil servants in the province and perhaps in the region.
Moni Plus will open its 2 other branches in Kokopo and Alatau. It has 8 branches and is planning to have more branches in all the 22 provinces. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News, Mt.Hagen.
Gantom Primary School in the Huon Gulf District, Moresby Province, will resume classes tomorrow after it was ordered to close by Lay City Council Health Division last month due to unfit sanitary facilities. Environmental health officers with the Health Division were satisfied that the school's administration complied with the closure notice. There are now adequate number of toilet facilities and water has also been restored. Over 1,100 students have missed out on almost 200 lessons since the closure. The school's water supply bill was cut in the year 2009 and students have been using pit toilets ever since. The Lay City Council Health Division today officially declared that the primary school will resume classes for grades 3 to 8 beginning tomorrow. Here with National MTV News, we go for a break, and when we come back, we take a look at stories making headlines overseas. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Tuesday's news. Turning overseas now, the Trump administration has decided to end all funding for a UN agency which provides essential services to more than 5 million Palestinian refugees. The White House says the agency is irredeemably flouted, but critics say President Trump is trying to take off the table a central demand from Palestinian leaders, their right to return to lands that are now part of Israel.
Inside the Dheisheh refugee camp, Abdul Qadir al-Laham makes his way to daily prayers. The 100-year-old Palestinian refugee has difficulty hearing and is short of strength, but the memory of fleeing his home in the 1948 Arab-Israeli war remains sharp.
I was not at home. I was outside with my sheep. When I came back, I realized that my wife and daughter fled with all the villagers. So I took my sheep and fled towards Bethlehem, where I found them 3 days later.
The memories are 7 decades old, but some scars never heal. Pain and principle carried down through the generations.
I'm living in 10 meters prison here for 70 years. Well, once I had 100 dunams of land. A bit of soil from my land there is worth more than my soul to me. But I'm not worried, because injustice never lasts.
This is what's left of Al-Laham's village, ruins he says he has not visited since 1975. The idea that this is still their land, still their family's home, is one that's central to Palestinian national identity. 2 generations later, his grandson says there is no room for compromise when it comes to the right of return. Muhammad al-Laham is 22 years old and spent his whole life in the Dheisheh refugee camp. The camp's services are run by UNRWA, the United Nations agency in charge of Palestinian refugees. The U.S. cut funding to UNRWA in a move widely seen as trying to undercut the status of Palestinian refugees.
Impossible. I can never compromise on my right of return. Everything I see in the refugee camp reminds me of my right. People, flags, pictures, the way we live. I have a right and I will never give it up.
The key is the symbol here, the ability to unlock your own door once again. Images of the key are prevalent in Palestinian refugee camps in a way that makes it clear the Palestinians will not simply give up the right of return. It is this intransigence that makes it perhaps the most sensitive and difficult issue in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, even more so than Jerusalem.
The truth is that every American proposal since the Oslo Accords under the Clinton administration and the Bush administration and the Obama administration in different ways has made clear that there's no American intention to facilitate a right of return.
The Mt.Hagen refugee camp is home to roughly 15,000 Palestinian refugees, a small fraction of the 5 million refugees in the Middle East and beyond. The idea that these refugees could return to their homes in modern-day Israel has always been a non-starter for the Israelis, as it would dramatically change the character of Israel as the Jewish state.
It may be the hardest issue, and it may be an issue that ultimately this whole effort crashes upon.
Even if Palestinian leaders understand the difficulties of the right of return, it will take a major concession in a peace process for them to be able to make that compromise, like a commitment to a two-state solution from the Americans and Israelis. And that's something Palestinians haven't heard in years.
The British may be famous for complaining about the weather, but it seems over the past few months they've had every reason to. England's summer was officially the hottest on record, and with warnings that it could happen again due to climate change. London is already taking steps to be better prepared.
It may be autumn, but London basked in the mid-20s today as news broke the English summer was the hottest on record. It was great for holidaymakers, but not so great for firefighters or farmers.
It increases our costs, which has an impact on the profitability of what we're doing. And it increases the amount of work and worry and stress.
It's also set to affect food prices in the coming months. For much of the summer, fields across Britain resembled a desert. Just the cricket pitch was green, reservoirs dried up, and ancient burial sites, usually covered, were seen for the first time.
We've discovered hundreds of new sites this year, spanning about 6,000 years of England's history.
This is the view from space, showing how the landscape changed in just a matter of weeks. In fact, England averaged more than 17 degrees, beating the famous heatwave of 1976. As for the whole of Britain, it was the joint hottest on record, averaging nearly 16 degrees, with more than 80 days above 25. Making for many a hot night and record visits to emergency departments.
Going forward into the future, it's expected that because of greenhouse gas emissions and global warming, these kinds of heat waves will occur more regularly, and when they occur, we'll have higher temperatures as a result.
And in a move to combat emissions, petrol and diesel cars have now been banned from 9 of London's most air-polluted roads.
Air pollution is like passive smoking the whole time.
London's dirty air is blamed for nearly 10,000 deaths a year. The summer heat this year for nearly 700. And now the country braces for a warmer than normal autumn.
Older patients do better if they receive less transfused blood, not more. This revelation in findings of groundbreaking research involving hundreds of New Zealanders. It will now change how elderly heart patients are treated on the operating table.
The age-old approach to cardiac surgery on high-risk elderly patients is in for an overhaul, courtesy of new evidence showing less is more when it comes to blood transfusions.
Nobody really wants a blood transfusion, so if we can get away with using less and that is still good for the patients, then that's better for the patient and it's better for the blood donor as well.
Really, until now, we felt the balance in older people was in favour of giving them more blood because we didn't have the data to tell us what to do.
But now they do. The answer's in a new global study of more than 5,000 patients, including 560 in New Zealand. Its findings revealed that in high-risk patients aged over 75, receiving less blood during surgery prevented 1 in every 28 from major complications like heart attack, stroke, kidney failure and even death.
So we're not sure why. It's related to immune function, because when you get a blood transfusion, you're actually getting a form of transplant.
He says more research is needed, but patient monitoring for 6 months after the trial was positive.
Researchers were surprised by the results of their research, which is the largest study of its type ever carried out, and say it'll change the standard of care for millions of heart patients worldwide.
It'll mean less blood is needed in cardiac surgery on the elderly.
Blood's quite expensive. The cost of giving a unit of blood to the hospital system is probably around $1,000.
But it's still in high demand in other areas.
Our message to donors would be, yes, we still want you, yes, we still need you, and please do keep coming.
Blood donation still vital in our hospitals.
A London man is taking his fight against modern-day slavery to the streets of America. He's on the second leg of his journey to dance across the famous highway Route 66 through 8 states in all. That's to raise money for anti-slavery, and he's sharing his journey with the CNN Freedom Project.
Let's do it. Blaring an eclectic mix of music, sporting a neon yellow headband and tutu, Ben Hammond is a sight to behold, boogieing along one of America's biggest roadways. With each hop and twist, the self-proclaimed Planet Prancer is raising funds for Anti-Slavery International, an organization fighting human trafficking around the globe.
The dancing, I felt, was a really good symbol of the freedom that I have. Like when I'm dancing and I'm dancing free, you know, I feel free. So why not take that and take that message out to the world? And I thought, well, why not take this message of freedom to the land of the free? So America it is.
The teacher and lecturer from London began his journey in April. Starting in Santa Monica, California, he plans to dance all the way to New York. But working full-time, Hammond can only progress during summer holidays, making this a long-term endurance dancing feat.
In all honesty, it's probably going to take me about 4 years to get from beginning to end. But I'm committed to this and, you know, going to give it a go, all I've got.
So far, he's moved through California, Arizona, and part of New Mexico, self-tracking his progress on his website. He logs anywhere from 14 to 60 kilometers a day, depending on terrain, all while battling the heat.
I'm absolutely exhausted.
But for Hammond, the strenuous challenge is part of a much larger message.
Kind of realized in life how much freedom I had, and I just wanted to help folks who had less freedom and whose lives were much more caged. I could go out and do whatever I wanted. I could dream big and I could realize those dreams. And so in a sense, what I'm doing is trying to shine a light on those people that still in the 21st century don't have the freedoms that you or I might have.
As he prances along Route 66, pulling along supplies in a buggy he nicknamed Barbara, the enthusiastic Brit says his message has been surprisingly well received.
I would not blame anyone if they crossed the road, turned their car around, fled in the opposite direction if they saw a guy. And I do wear a tutu as I'm doing it to symbolize freedom and fun. It is a bit weird. So what makes it amazing is when people kind of process what I'm doing and come and say hello and wave and sometimes give a jig as well. I think it's amazing.
Hammond finished the first leg of his challenge this week after covering more than 1,200 kilometers.
Thank you for supporting me on this journey.
But rest assured, you can see the Planet Prancer moving and grooving again soon when he returns to Route 66 next summer.
Everyone has been so friendly and so warm and so supportive that I'm really excited to come back and take my next dancing steps through America.
It's a parent's nightmare, and human rights activists say it could be a war crime. At least 26 school children ages 6 to 11 were killed last month in Yemen's bloody civil war. They were on a field trip when an airstrike hit their bus. CNN has revealed the bomb used by the Saudi-led coalition in that attack was made by the United States and had been sold to Saudi Arabia as part of a deal with the U.S. State Department.
The US-backed Saudi-led coalition has announced the findings of an incident assessment team, and they are doubling down on their assertion that the school bus attacked on August 9th was a legitimate target.
War crime is not founded in Yemen. War crime or any systematic target civilian is not founded in our operation in Yemen. We are applying the high standard measure and the best practice for RWs, the special instruction, and also for the air operation directives. Now, this is the story of the Houthi again. The JIT is an independent team we have announced that we are accepting the outcome and the finding. We have given all the evidence that we have for the jihad. And if the Houthi, they are telling the story, and other organization, it's been proved by the information that we have as intelligence information. It's not a school bus, because there is no school time at Saida at that time when the incident have happened. And also we have shown all the videos tape. We never observed or noticed any kids in the bus, and it been announced that some of the Houthi fighters, they are inside that bus.
So, a legitimate target, a denial that war crimes are being committed in Yemen in spite of the findings of that UN panel of experts. The concern is that can lessons truly be learned if the Saudi-led coalition still refuses to acknowledge what so many people could see for themselves, what CNN was able to broadcast when we obtained cell phone footage filmed in their last hours by schoolboys on that bus, that there were children on that bus. Can lessons truly be learned?
Back home now, in global constructions in Gabutu, Port Moresby gave a total of 25,000 kina to the Miss Pacific Island pageant. This is the first time the local construction company has come on board to support the event as silver sponsors of the annual MPIP PNG Crowning Ball.
The money given will be used to support the young women in the program through scholarship funds, healthcare and education. Company Secretary Nelson Yano, who did the presentation, said girls with big dreams become women with vision, where they empower each other to carry out their vision.
Spirit of women empowerment, our contribution may be small, but it certainly will support you in your endeavors.
The funds will go towards the MPIP PNG Crowning Ball, scheduled for November 3rd, and the newly constructed Hilton Hotel. MPIP PNG patron Lydia Baba O'Neill said that MPIP believes no one should be left behind.
Far too many women here in Papua New Guinea fall short in completing their tertiary education. This can be because of numerous reasons, such as not having the finances to do so, family dilemmas that get in the way, and quite often falling pregnant.
She said the organization is hoping to reach a total of 1 million for scholarship funds. She also said without scholarship from companies like Global Construction, MPIP PNG would not have been able to have its scholarship funds, and many young women would not be able to fulfill their dreams for an education. The newly crowned Miss Pacific Islands PNG 2018 will go on to represent PNG at the regional Miss Pacific Island pageant held at the end of November in Nuku'alofa, Tonga. Michelle Stephen, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. We go for a break now. When we come back, all your sporting action in Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with rugby, and in a telephone interview with the national women's rugby team, Coach John Larry says preparations for the Palais are going well since the tournament in San Francisco. He says with the event a couple of months away, he's thinking of keeping the same team except changes due to injuries.
In a telephone interview with national women's coach, John Larry says preparations for the Fiji Sevens tournament is going well. He says training for the players is taking place both on the field and at the gym.
We started training 2 weeks ago because into gym and first session we have been a week training, Mondays and Wednesdays and gym, Tuesdays and Thursdays our full session, and Fridays our recovery. We'll be heading Saturday at the weekend as our one of our training session,
With the event 2 months away, changes for the team is unlikely unless injury is concerned.
I got some new girls into the squad. We're roughly about 15 hours in the squad. I'll be going to Ley to see some girls in there. There's some girls in Groka coming down. We'll be having one-day training session in Ley just to identify some of the girls.
With only limited time, players identified from other centres will be eligible to attend the trials if PNG qualifies for the Oceania Sevens. Fiji Sevens tournament is crucial for PNG with the aim to make it into the Oceania Sevens tournament.
Australia and New Zealand is going to be there, and there's some other Pacific Islands. It's a big tournament. It includes New Caledonia and Solomon Island, Fiji, and Tonga and Samoa and Cook Islands are our threat. We're not going to take it lightly. We're going to take it as very important to us.
The final squad will be finalised 2 to 3 weeks prior to the event. The event will take place from the 9th to the 10th of November in Suva, Fiji. Godwin Eki, National MTV Sports.
Karate instructors in Leh are creating a platform for new and upcoming karate students to be given a chance to participate in local tournaments. Last week, they hosted the first Shito Ryu, Goju Ryu Karate Do Open Panamax Championships. John Tarapia, one of the event organizers and a karate instructor, said this allowed players under the age of 18 to participate. 8 teams in Moresby attended the event with up to 200 players. Sensei John Tarapia said for most championships, the younger categories do not participate. Through this platform, those under the age of 18 can be exposed to championships, saying it will also build their confidence and skills. Through the event, they've already identified young potential fighters and will encourage the clubs to develop them. Mr. Tarapia said this will also make it easier for selections leading up to major tournaments. The sports of netball and volleyball will host their respective national championships in Port Moresby and Leh during the Independence Long Weekend. Both codes will use the tournament to make selections for the upcoming Pacific Games in Samoa in 2019.
With 12 days to the country's 43rd Independence Day, preparations are currently underway for 2 separate sporting codes, in particular netball and volleyball, which are preparing for the national championships. The nationals are very important for the 2 codes as selections for the 2019 Pacific Games will be identified from the national events. With more than 6 centres confirmed to attend the netball championships in Leh City, more than 100 players are expected to participate. A selection committee will also be on the grounds to identify potential netball players to be scouted into the train-on squad. Similarly, PNG Volleyball Inc. is also currently preparing its officials and confirming the names and number of players that will participate. PNG Volleyball Inc. will host 5 respective national events, which includes an Under-21 Open Men's and Women's and Beach Volleyball Championships. While outdoor volleyball championships are played both in Leh and Port Moresby, beach volleyball will be hosted in Port Moresby. With the national events used for the selection for next year's Pacific Games in Samoa, selectors for both netball and volleyball will be keeping a close eye throughout the competitions to make selections and then confirming with PNG Olympic Committee in Port Moresby. Currently for netball, preparations are also underway for the Under-21 World Cup qualifiers, while beach volleyball is looking to make strides internationally. Godwin Eki, National MTV Sports.
Don't go anywhere. We'll have more of Trukai Sports after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To the NRL now. New Zealand Warriors recruit Blake Green suggested concert speakers be brought in to help the team prepare for week 1 of the NRL finals.
This is what Warriors training days usually sound like. Quiet and calm, just how they like it. Breathe. Only today was different.
The boys are back in town. I said, the boys are back in town.
Usually Desperate to block out all noise or distractions, the Warriors are now embracing it.
It's obviously just a lot louder than normal when you play finals footy, so it was just something we thought it might be of benefit.
A playlist of all the stadium anthems blasted through warm-ups. Then it was cameras off as they got into their real work.
Now, we aren't allowed to film players during this part of the session, but as you can probably hear, the speakers are being used to simulate crowd noise expected in Sydney. It's actually something brought in by Blake Green from his days in Melbourne.
From your experiences, does it work?
Yeah, I find it works. We had a few instances today that we found we needed to be a lot clearer with our communication.
Players say 25,000 of their own fans made communication hard enough on Friday night. James Gavitt was ruled out of the Raiders clash, but One News can reveal it was because he turned up late to training. One club insider even saying he's on his last warning. If there was ever a time to maintain high standards, it's now.
That's what it's about turning up and playing your best footy when it matters most. And for us, it's 5:40 on Saturday afternoon.
And until then, they'll continue with the noise, while being quietly confident about how far they can push into their first finals in 7 years.
A shock loss at the US Open. The great Roger Federer and five-time tournament champion has been beaten by an Aussie playing his first ever fourth-round match of a Grand Slam.
John Millman made the most of his moment on the big stage, matching Federer in power, speed and accuracy, winning in 4 sets.
John Millman has pulled off one of the biggest upsets in tennis history.
He's been a hero of mine, and today he was definitely not at his best, but I'll take it.
Sure will. Adding to this fairy tale, the 29-year-old contemplated retirement back in 2011 due to injuries. And another former champion has also gone on the women's side of the draw. Maria Sharapova, beaten by world number 30 Carla Suarez Navarro in straight sets. Suarez Navarro playing under lights at Arthur Ashe Stadium for the first time and snapping Sharapova's run of 22 consecutive night match wins.
It's one thing to battle back to the playing field after an injury. It's entirely different when that injury is life-changing. That's exactly what Rachel Meyer has done. She will be New Zealand's first and only athlete at this week's Paraclimbing World Championships, and now she's hoping her story can help inspire others.
In practical terms, it will take Rachel Meyer around 30 hours to get to her next competition. But in reality, her journey is one that spans the past 2 decades.
So I had a fall and broke one ankle and shattered the other, completely destroyed it.
That life-changing injury happened when Rachel was just 16.
You can't at 16 grasp what being on crutches or being in a wheelchair or not being able to walk, how that affects raising children and being a mum and trying to have a life.
But she's done it all nonetheless. Juggling life as a single mother of 3, Rachel finds the time to chalk up and get back on the wall.
I have a time machine and I rewind it at the end of every day. Just do it twice over.
While she may laugh it off, her rise up the ranks is nothing short of incredible.
After 18 years of not climbing, it only took just over a year of training to get into the World Championships.
Yep, that's crazy. I didn't think I'd be that good at it. I did it for me. I didn't do it for anybody else. It was my way of trying to re-engage with something that I loved.
But getting to that point has been far from easy.
The world will give you negativity. They will say negative things, but you get to choose who you are, and that can be empowered and capable and willing to give it a try. It doesn't have to be labels like you can't or cripple or invalid or this isn't possible. Anything's possible. Adapt, defy, learn by failing, learn by trying.
And there's no better example of learning than by constantly reaching higher.
I love the fact that I can say, yeah, I'm really afraid of heights and I really don't like coming back down again, but I can still do this. Maybe that fear of falling gives me that extra little oomph to push harder and crush it. I don't know.
Rachel flies out to the World Championships in Austria on Wednesday. Whether she medals or not, she'll most likely still go down as New Zealand's latest champion.
And the story wraps up Trukai Sports for this evening. We go for a break now. When we come back, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, Port Moresby, Daru and Alta, fine becoming partly cloudy. A few showers expected in Kerama, a shower or two in Popondetta with a top of 30 degrees. To the Mamasa region, rain and thunderstorms expected in Leh and Wau. Rain and showers expected in Madang with a top of 30 degrees. 30 degrees as well, and a few showers expected for Wewak. Thundery showers in Vanimo for the next 24 hours. To the New Guinea Islands region, some rain and showers expected all across the region in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe, and a shower or two expected in Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mt.Hagen, Goroka, Kundia, Mendi and Wabe can expect some showers over the next 24 hours with early morning fog developing. A look at the forecast for small ships, but there is a renewal of a strong wind warning for all coastal waters. Strong southeasterly winds of 25 to 34 knots are expected to continue for the next 24 hours, causing rough seas. All small craft and boats are advised to take the necessary precautions before and going out to sea. To look at the forecast waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, to Hood Point to Samarai Island, and with waters of eastern and western Min Bay Islands, and waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel to Finchafen, seas 1.5 to 2 meters, waters of Kiwai Island to Kerma to Yulu Island, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters, waters of Finchafen through Vitias and Dampier Strait to Siasi Islands to Long Island to Madang, Bogia to Wewak, seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters, waters of Wewak to Aitape, Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border, with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and waters of New Island to East New Britain to Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters, and waters of West New Britain, seas 1 to 2 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea sees moderate to rather rough with southeasterly winds at 20 to 25 knots. Solomon Sea sees moderate with southeasterly winds at 15 to 20 knots. Bismarck Sea sees moderate to rather rough with southeasterly winds at 20 to 25 knots. And the Pacific Ocean sees slight with southeast to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And to end the news, a recap of our top stories this evening. Consumer Watchdog says it does not set mobile data rates. Governors concerned with public service inefficiencies. And Port Moresby-based finance company opens up in Hagen, Western Highlands Province. And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Tuesday the 4th of September 2018. Tune in at 8 p.m. this evening for My Province, My Country as we travel to the Simbu Province, courtesy of Jack Lapava Jr. and James, our cameraman. We hope you enjoy our Independent Special this evening. Right now, on behalf of the entire MTV News team around the country, including our cameraman in Simbu, James Waula, pleasant viewing. Good night.